joining us. It's time to memorialize and to celebrate Vivek Singh. Dr. Vivek Singh received his medical degree from the Gandhi Medical College in Hyderabad, India in 1994. He arrived in Chicago in August of 1995 to start his MPH coursework at the School of Public Health, University of Illinois in Chicago. From 1998 to 2002, he completed his general psychiatry residency at the Cleveland Clinic and served as chief resident. In 2003, he completed a research fellowship in clinical psychopharmacology and biological psychiatry at the University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio. Over the course of 12 years, he rapidly advanced from instructor to full professor. And on June 15, 2015, he became chairman of psychiatry at Texas Tech University Health Science Center in El Paso. What had he accomplished before arriving here? Well, at University of Texas Health Science Center in El Paso, he was chairman of the Institutional Review Board, director of the Psychiatric Consultation Liaison Service, medical director and chief of psychiatric services at University Hospital, director of Psychosomatic Medicine Fellowship, medical director of the University of Texas Medicine Psychiatry Services, chief medical officer for the Department of Psychiatry, and the interim vice chair for clinical affairs in the Department of Psychiatry. With regard to his professional organizations, he served on the executive committee and was vice president for education at the International Society for Bipolar Disorders, where he also served on the council with board of counselors. He was president of the Bexar County Psychiatry Society. He was an avid investigator. He was a principal, or psych investigator for over 30 research grants. He has 41 publications, 7 this year alone. He had poster presentations across the United States, in Turkey, Canada, and India. He was a highly sought-after national speaker on bipolar disorders, educating practicing psychiatrists in the assessment, diagnosis, and treatment of the illness. He had oral presentations and lectures in Chicago, Las Vegas, San Francisco, Istanbul, Houston, Cleveland, Baton Rouge, San Diego, Miami, St. Louis, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Oklahoma City, Coon Rapids, Michigan, Goldsboro, North Carolina, Raleigh, Tampa, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Gallup, and in Texas, Amarillo, Austin, Dallas, Fredericksburg, Lubbock, San Antonio, Temple, and twice in El Paso in 2003 and 2004 before coming here. He was on the editorial board of the Annals of Psychiatry and Mental Health. He was the editor-in-chief of the International Society for Bipolar Disorder Global Newsletter, and he was a reviewer for at least 8 other journals. He was a master educator, having contributed to 20 different medical school lectures and courses, and at least 20 resident courses as well, let alone fellows as well. His awards include the Best Doctors in America, which he received continuously for the last decade, San Antonio's Top Physicians, Texas Super Doctors, America's Top Psychiatrist, the Patient's Choice Award, and at University of Texas Health Science Center El Paso, the following awards. Awards for availability for consultation and mentoring residents from the psychiatry department. The commitment to the profession of psychiatry, also at the same institution. Dedication to Resident Education Award, Participation in Resident Scholarly Activity Award, the Encouragement and Support of Resident Research Award, the Teacher of the Year Award, and finally, just before he came to El Paso, he received the President's Award for Clinical Excellence. Only one of 3 faculty throughout the entire institution to receive it. He was affectionately known in San Antonio as the Mayor of Psychiatry of San Antonio. Now, Vivek was, if anything, not traditional and non-conventional. It starts with his birth. I have reports that his birthday is March 7th, 1968, September 11th, 1969, and I hear that he holds a birth certificate that says he's 64 years old. If you're going to be that important, having 3 different birthdays is just equally as important. His beginning here on Earth was not any less auspicious than his beginning here in America, where he arrived in Chicago with nothing more than luggage. No names, no contacts, just a vision. He was going to start his MPH work. So what would you do if you arrived in Chicago with only luggage? Well, Vivek had a plan. He opened the phone directory, looked up Singhs and figured they must be somehow related, and called one and said, "Hi, I'm Vivek Singh. We must be related. Would you like to come pick me up and take me in?" And they did. 45 minutes, picked him up, fed him, and kept him till they got his feet on the ground. Let me tell you about my experience with Vivek, and it will be relatively short because there are a number of speakers that know him well. And you'll see the speakers on your program. There's one addition, Suzanne Von Wheaton, would also like to speak as well. She's worked very closely with Vivek and is a part of the institution as well. Vivek left nothing to chance. He was confident, self-assured. My first visit with Vice Chairman Vivek was this, and it involved enlisting my team to recruit him. My team consists of Veronica, Vanessa, Vero, Victoria, and Veronique to help bring Vivek to our institution. The venue is his home. The hosts, his sons, Viraj and Varun. The dog, VJ. No surprise, he's vegetarian. His favorite color is violet. His brothers are named Vikas, Vidan, and Vipul, or he will subsequently live on a street in El Paso named Via. So it's no surprise that what brought Vivek to us as chairman was his values, his vision, and his virtuosity. And it is no surprise why various individuals have voyaged today to honor him here. So allow me to celebrate Vivek in a way that I think he would vicariously enjoy by carrying on his tradition. I'm going to call it Vintage Vivek. Vivek lived vibrantly, exuded vitality, and approached opportunities vigorously. He was vigilant with resources. His wife would say frugal, his sons may say cheap. And he was vexed by mediocrity. He did not tolerate it. He valued veracity. He valued virtue. And he valued all people, especially his family, including Viraj and Varun. He was a vocal voice for the vulnerable and victims of mental illness. He was venerant and validating to his colleagues, and he viewed vanity and vibrato as valueless. His values and his virtues spoke volumes of his character. He was among the most virtuous and visionary leaders I have ever worked with. He had one velocity: now. Get it done now. His impact in 5 months, already vast. Let me tell you, in 5 months, he brought 6 new psychiatrists to the university. In fact, he hadn't even signed the contract when he was recruiting people from San Antonio. And just this week, by the way, received approval to increase the psychiatry residency from 16 to 24, an increase 50%. Now, I did the math, without help from Viraj or Varun, by the way, and on the same trajectory, in 10 years, Vivek alone, with the same trajectory, would have recruited 120 new mental health specialists in El Paso, and the residency program would go to 96. Vivek would shrug his shoulders and say, is that all? Typical vintage Vivek. In fact, the Paul L. Foster School of Medicine would become the Paul L. Foster School of Mental and Behavioral Health. And the mayor of San Antonio would now be the viceroy of El Paso. This I call vintage Vivek. With that, I'd like for our 2 students to come up. And then I'd like for our speakers to talk about their experience with Vivek and enjoy the celebration in honor of Vivek's life.
And all the heart that gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be with you. Good night and joy be with you.
Dr. Singh first began working with the Society in 2010 when he took over the role of editor-in-chief of the Society's newsletter, the ISBD Global, and promptly initiated a new column entitled A Look at the Literature, which provided highlights from current literature along with commentaries on their relevance to the field. This contribution marked a new era of sorts for the ISBD Global by introducing content that distilled the take-home messages for clinicians from a wealth of published research. He continued to contribute to this column for the duration of his time in the Society. In 2012, Dr. Singh was elected to the ISBD Board of Counselors, where his enthusiasm continued to be evident, particularly in the area of education for clinicians, a natural outgrowth of his ongoing involvement with the newsletter. And on April 1st of 2014, Dr. Singh officially joined the ISBD executive as Vice President for Education, a position which was a source of great pride and joy for him. During his tenure on the ISBD executive, he served as co-author of the scientific program and steering committee for the, just as earlier this year, annual meeting in Toronto. He was involved also in the early stages of planning for our meeting in Amsterdam in 2016. Under his watch, the ISBD webinar series matured into a staple of the Society's education program. He had plans to work with the Society toward the adaptation of materials from the Bipolar Disorders Journal into different mediums, including a series of articles for clinical and lay audiences alike that he envisioned as a serialized product that would collectively form a new educational ISBD resource. In fact, Dr. Singh contributed with many new ideas, always eager to get feedback from others. Perhaps we will miss most his good nature, his positive spirit that he brought to the Society with an easy laugh and warm smile. He added a lightheartedness to the executive that will be sorely missed. He goes on to speak about in his closing remarks, he says, "We will do our best to honor Dr. Singh's many contributions to the ISBD by bringing a renewed energy and spirit to the educational mission that he so heartily embraced. But for the moment, we join with so many others in mourning the loss of a wonderful human being. Signed with deepest sympathy, Manuel Sanchez de Carmona, President ISBD." Learning of this, I dusted off a letter, if you can call it a file on your computer, being dusted off, that I wrote nearly a decade ago to the chair of the Promotions and Tenure Committee at UTHS-CSA. "Dear Rick, I'm pleased to respond to your request for my evaluation of Dr. Singh's qualifications for promotion to associate professor. I was involved in recruitment of Dr. Singh, having served as his primary mentor during a research fellowship, and have closely worked with him in numerous clinical and research capacities. At the time of his recruitment, Joe Calabrese, a primary mentor in Cleveland, where Dr. Singh had trained, provided a positive evaluation and closed with the observation, he is a keeper. Dr. Singh enthusiastically engages in each of the areas I shall make observations about. He's had a major role as clinician investigator on several extramurally funded NIH grants and contracts, including the STEP bipolar disorder program, the largest prospective pragmatic treatment study ever conducted with bipolar disorder. He's had similar major roles at the P20 Developing Center for Interventions and Service Research. Our site had the highest enrollment and retention of any of the 5 centers nationally in these bipolar trials network. We were just awarded a 3-year grant from the NIH Agency of Health Research and Quality, in substantial part because of Dr. Singh's effective recruitment and role as clinician investigator. We were just awarded a 3-year grant. Excuse me. Dr. Singh assumed major service-related leadership responsibilities with the IRB. He worked to bridge residency training needs with new programs, which have recently brought the largest number of residents into our research and teaching clinics for persons with mood disorders in the history of the school. He has taken a particular role in development of training videos and conducting video recorded interviews, which are used by other research groups around the world in the application of a new rating scale for bipolar disorders, the BIS, for Bipolar Inventory of Symptoms Scale. Here's a sampling of the many letters and notes from people who worked with Vivek that I've received in the past week. Vivek was jovial and caring with the mood division employees. He was interested in their lives and them and his. Many people do not possess this trait in clinical, fast-paced settings. Another is legacy, 2 wonderful boys. Here's another. When I was about your age, I lost my father. The many wonderful memories I have of him have never faded, and my love of my father has only grown all these years. Another, his smile and sense of humor always made us smile. He was the only person I know who would have veggies to eat in his pants pocket. A poem that I've been interested in and returned to and memorized from my mid-20s was written by a poet and playwright around the 4th or 5th century A.D., Kalidasa. This particular one, among many, is Exhortation of the Dawn. And Kalidasa, I had a discussion with Vivek at one point, and Vivek said that I mispronounced the name Kalidasa. It says, look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream. Tomorrow, only a vision. But today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. Well, closing, let me just say, I, along with all of you able to be here today, and the manyfold others who could, other friends unable to join, wish particularly for Radhika, Raj, Guru, the bliss of growth, the glory of action from lives well lived.
Dr. Lang, family, and I can't say my brother's friends, but all our friends, thank you so much for coming. You know, Vivek used to be, I'm going to talk about some things that a lot of you don't know about him, and a lot of you will never know if me and my siblings don't talk about it. Because we've seen a part of his life that a lot of you have not seen. I wish he was standing here and speaking for me maybe. It's unfortunate that I'm doing this. He was an excellent debater, so I just heard Dr. Charles say that we had a discussion. Vivek never had discussions. We always debated. He hated to lose. My name is Vipul, and I'm the better looking part of Vivek. I'm the other country. And I also can't say that he's my favorite brother because I've got another guy sitting here. And I'm Vipul. Vivek, I used to call him Bhai, so when I say Vivek, it's a little strange for me, but I'll try to keep it as Vivek. He was my childhood hero. We have 4 brothers and 2 sisters. Now we have 5 instead. We always say we had 4 brothers and 2 sisters. We never said we had 2 sisters and 4 brothers. He was the 3rd brother and I was the 4th and 5th in the family of 6. But when I say he was my hero, that was primarily because he was the hero of all my friends. He was the hero of my mother. I was sharing this with my brother today, that he was very, very different. He never knew how to lose. When I got this news at 1:52 a.m. Saturday morning, I called my brother, who lives just in the same building that I do. And I told my wife that this can never be true. This guy can't lose it. And I texted Radhika. He's a fighter, he'll come and fight. And when I saw him today, I realized that when somebody wants you, he really wants you. And somebody really wanted him more than us. And that's why he's come. He could have done a lot of different things in life. He became a psychiatrist because he wanted to be one. He became a doctor because he wanted to be one. I don't know how many of you follow cricket, but he could easily play cricket for India. He was, at the age of 17, he used to be the quickest fast bowler in India. And I'm not joking. He was, at one point of time, he took a bet with some of us. He said that I was taking my exams for my master's in management. And he said that he took a bet. He said that it's not difficult. And I said it is. He said, okay, I will take the exam and meet you to your school. And he actually got better grades than I did as he was preparing for his medical school. So that's what Vivek is. If he says something, he will tell it. He was ferociously direct, very, very honest. He really, I'm not sure how he was with Viraj in the room, but I'm sure Radhika would have experienced it, his in-laws would have experienced it, my parents experienced it, we experienced it as a sibling. He never flicked in saying what his mind would tell him to do. And he was normally right. He actually had a lot of people who didn't like him for that initially. and that included my wife. Hindu and I have known Vivek. Hindu's known Vivek for like 25 years now. And she would tell me that this guy is crazy. I really didn't like Vivek for some of the things. He used to be my brother-in-law's senior in school. So when I got married, and my brother-in-law came to know, Radhika doesn't know this, he came to know that I'm Vivek Singh's brother. He said, Vivek's so nice, why are you like that? That's a statement that I will never forget in my life. I never forgive him. He was a huge influence. He had a way with people, and I'm an HR guy. I work for a company called ADP. I think there's one guy who made a better HR manager than I did, and that was Vivek. Very helpful. He didn't know how to say no, and his life revolved around people. He maybe was in the wrong profession. That's what I think. When he was here in India, when he was there in India in January, I was dropping him to the airport. It was an hour-and-a-half drive. And he actually gave me a lecture on what HR is. And when I got out of the car, I told him, you're talking to a guy who's done reasonably well in his life as an HR professional. But I also want to tell you that a lot of things that he told me were actually true. He was not stingy, he was not frugal, and he was not cheap. He was extremely prudent. When Dr. Lang said he came to Chicago with a bag, he actually came to Chicago with a bag. I remember dropping him to the airport on my scooter, and my mother breaking down when he was getting into the flight. The first person that he called after he reached there was me. And he told me, Bob, I made it. I wanted to be here. But there's one thing that he liked. He told me I will be back very soon. He's left us in bonds. So that's a lie. I always said that he's very honest, very direct. He was not direct with us because he never told us the details. One of his teachers actually posted on my Facebook. Her name is Geeta Shamsundar. She taught me English and she taught Vivek English. Vivek got 92% in 10th and 94% in 12th in his English grades. I got 60% in 10th. I didn't do 12th in the same school. She wrote to me, we had Shakespeare, Merchant of Venice, and Richard too, and she still remembers him saying, there's nobody who had better mastery of Shakespeare than he did. And I wrote back to her, man, I really don't know. But all I know is that he can debate better than anybody else. And maybe you taught him. Before I actually hang off, I just want to tell you a slightly funny story. When he was, for my dad's 70th birthday a couple of years back, I was there in India. And we were arguing about, some of you follow cricket, arguing about Sachin Tendulkar and Ricky Ponting. Sachin is India's greatest cricketer and Ricky Ponting is one of the greatest cricketers the world has seen. And I quoted a statistic which was not fully right. He went back, pulled out some stats, He told me, Bob, you talk, all that you talk is just part in life. So I don't believe you anymore. So he can go to any extent if he's right and if he thinks what he's doing is right. Of course, Sachin continues to be better and Ricky Ponting. The statistics do not really make a difference. And I'm okay to lose that argument. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. I'm not in the best frame of mind to stand here and talking to all of you. But, you know, when you're almost the youngest, you actually get pushed to do something that you don't want. That's actually what's happening. Thank you once again.
Howdy, I'm Peter Thompson, and I'm one of the 6, I guess. Infamous now. The 6. It's kind of strange, doesn't it? But I've had the distinct pleasure and honor of being Vivek's friend and knowing him since he arrived here in Texas from Cleveland 13 years ago. During this time, our relationship has changed dramatically. He's changed dramatically. I've changed dramatically. He started as my trainee, moved to become my colleague, and then he became my supervisor. During this time, when he was evolving and changing, he met every challenge, both personally and professionally. Professionally, he excelled. He became a wonderful teacher, a researcher and physician. Just to give you an idea of what his patients thought of him. When he left San Antonio, I moved into the bipolar clinic and I picked up some of his patients. And when I first met the patients, pretty much each one of them said that Vivek was the best doctor, one of the nicest, and I hoped I would just be like him. The last couple of years in San Antonio, I've been directing the inpatient unit in a large hospital, and Vivek was the medical director. These have been difficult times for us. We had been losing faculty, and administration was changing, and all sorts of inter-service rivalry or anger, I don't know, it's horrible. But Vivek's job was to try to make psychiatry work. And let me tell you, he rose to the challenge. He diffused tension between the physician services, primarily between us and the emergency room physicians, between the nurses and the physicians, all the while keeping the trainees and the medical students, residents, and the patients up front. In addition to being the medical director, he was the chief of our consult service, and he worked in the bipolar clinic with Charlie. His participation in those activities made them the favorite choice for our trainees to rotate through. Those who admired him went beyond the professional staff. The hospital nurses, the social workers, the administrators were all fond of him, loved to tease him about his purple shirts, his cucumber lunches. He loved to chat with them. You know, I know this on a personal level, is because he and I had a standing tennis match. And somehow they seemed to know about the standing tennis match, and so they would grin at me and say things. But when we played tennis, he never gave up. And these tennis matches were kind of endurance training. And it would be 100 degrees out there in San Antonio, or 40 degrees. I mean, he wanted to play, and he was out there. And I've learned a couple things in life. We've got a lot to learn, but a couple things. And one of them is how people play the game, how people play tennis. Do they give up after a few shots? Do they make dubious calls? Believe it or not, tennis players can fudge it a little bit and sometimes call ball in when it's empty. But he played fair, and he never gave up. I'm telling you, this guy would never give up. I hit a great shot to the right, and he'd run after and get it. And I hit a great shot to the left. He'd run after and get it, and he just never gave up. Just for the record, we played quite a bit. I would give him at least 3 out of the times we played in a year. What I really want to share with you, that he was a wonderful man. Vivek turned just out to be a great person. But, he lived for his family. And he would spend a long time, I'm telling you, I heard all about the trips. And you guys were his source of strength. He was especially proud of Raj and Varun. He delighted in telling me how he turned the cul-de-sac into a cricket field, a cricket match. In fact, I have to ask you, did he break some windows?
He did.
He was a youngster. Yeah, that part was true. He delighted in telling me how you guys did in school, how the swim meets went. When he was ill, he was by your side. His pride in you guys and Radical knew no bounds. He was just say wonderful things. Now, having said all this, Vivek did have his soft spots, right? He did love Bollywood, right? So you guys had your own home Bollywood theater. He loved fast cars, and so we'd have to check with Radica to see how the insurance was on. But let me leave you with a couple thoughts. Vivek was looking forward to coming to El Paso. He talked at length with me about it. He was excited about it. He was energized by it. He shared with me what he hoped for, and he saw in you the promise of becoming something amazing. Vivek clearly imparted this gift with you, and your outpouring of love towards him is truly inspiring. I can tell you that I certainly will work with you all, with Dr. Lang, Dr. Guiones, the whole staff, to really continue to work on Vivek's dream and to move the department forward. And it has been, I loved him, and his spirit will continue with me.
I feel like Mauricio should be first and myself. You have seen it right there, the whole institution of bipolar worldwide. So it's an amazing honor to be along with Dr. Singh. So he was part of it. I feel so honored and grace happened here. That is an amazing feeling. So I'm going to start. Let's get this straight. Today, we celebrate the life of an extraordinary man. The life of Dr. Vivek Singh, endowed chair and professor of psychiatry of this fine institution that he decided to pick. I first met Vivek 15 years ago as my faculty supervising physician. We had a fight about this because I was in denial. I said, he's absolutely wrong. You never were my supervisor. I always saw him as my friend or my colleague. But he said, no, Ricardo, I work with you and I supervise you in the emergency room. And I can't believe it that was actually. Then, after I finished my residency training in the same location in San Antonio, at the University of Texas, San Antonio School of Medicine, I became his colleague. And we started working very closely. The consultation of liaison service, where we love to interact with medical students, with residents, and I'm here to confirm how everybody really looked after him. You know, he was a true leader, a true person. Someone that saw something in me that probably I didn't realize I have when he called me to the job and to join the department here in El Paso. his visionary stand and this dynamism affected many lives in a positive way. He had a driving and convincing force, I will say, among other many qualities as a human being that were known to those who knew him well. The best we can do to honor his memory is to continue his vision for this region. I make his dream come true. He has paved the way, that is for sure. He will continue to inspire many of us. He will be remembered. But you know, we also have to let him go. He always in our hearts, or at least in those who he touched the most. Dr. Vivek Singh, President's Award for Clinical Excellence and Scholarship Fund has been created by the Office of Institutional Advancement as a way of keeping him alive and remind us about excellence in all what we do. Now I want to make a remark that I want to believe why it's color purple. So actually color purple, those know, is the combination of color blue. No wonder, you know. El Paso has this beautiful blue skies 365 days of the year. And the fierce, powerful, energetic red of Texas Tech. Mirage, Maroon, Radica, we have worked.
Good afternoon. To Radica, Mirage, and Maroon, to the members of Vivek's family, and to the many friends, colleagues of Dr. Singh. In remembering Dr. Singh, the words of George Bernard Shaw ring true. Quote, "Some men see things as they are and ask why. Others dream things that never were and ask why not." And to me that captures the zest that Vivek had for his own dreams. As we gather today to celebrate his life, it strikes me that there is so much to share about him that these few words will certainly not adequately capture the entire essence of his impact on his family and friends. However, on behalf of the Department of Psychiatry, I will try to provide a somewhat representative glimpse of what he meant for those of us who worked with him over the last several months. And actually for the department officially last several months. But for me, he had me on the phone constantly the moment he was hired in San Antonio. And I said, what are you doing in San Antonio? He says, I'm recruiting. Okay. Viraj and Varun, I think your mother knows quite well what your dad did at work every day. But I think you will be proud to hear some of the details of what he did in carrying out his long-held dream of being a psychiatry chair. He led a department with a mission to teach medical students and physicians and psychologists specializing in psychiatry and mental health. Your dad would light up with enthusiasm with every teaching opportunity he had, be it in a clinic or in a classroom. He connected quickly on germane topics that were of great practical importance in patient care. He was a master in communicating these clinical pearls to his students and providing a mutual engagement in the learning process. And you're going to learn when you become more and more students down the line that the connection is mutual for teachers that you trust and that you learn from. And he was one of those. His teaching skills were a major asset in his leadership oversight of our training mission. He was essential in the process to expand the number of our psychiatry residency program from 16 to 24. When graduated, these trainees will be a potential valuable resource for specialists in this critically short area of psychiatry. As the Department Chief of Clinical Operations, your father pursued the expansion of our patient care services with great energy and focus. He began important changes in our outpatient clinics, and we have had a successful early start in the reorganization, much of which has been possible by the recruitment of great new faculty. He has also reinforced and augmented major contracts with community agencies to provide patient services and open the door to connections with various new community partners. El Paso for a long time has been a major area that's been very underserved in psychiatry. This is a great contribution on his part, has been. Your father was an excellent role model as a skilled physician, and he thoroughly understood all the aspects of modern psychiatric care, from the simplest clinical interventions to the most complex and challenging cases that required advanced therapeutic options. He has laid the foundation for advanced services, especially in areas like mood disorders, geriatric psychiatry, and child psychiatry. Your father came to us, as we have heard today, with a background rich in producing research data, particularly from the patient care setting. However, he also laid the foundation for new programs in behavioral science, including programs directed at primary health care. Very importantly, he recruited his trusted colleague, Dr. Peter Thompson, who you know very well, to continue research in the brain bank and to set up a mood disorders and advanced therapeutics clinic. This short summary of Dr. Singh's accomplishments since he began working with us in June seems almost incredulous. However, possibly more importantly, your dad brought a great sense of vision to our school. His target was to make us a leading center in psychiatry, first regionally, and then nationally, and then internationally. He had no doubts about reaching this goal. He quickly soaked up the needs and opportunities in our community and was well on his way to putting detail into the specific parts of our department vision. Dr. Singh engaged his faculty with a twinkle in his eye, with a great sense of energy and a relentless drive. Some of his colleagues have described him as one very friendly Energizer bunny. We learned that your father loved tennis, gardening, the color purple, and a good discussion on politics. In fact, I've never heard him laugh so loud than when we were discussing at lunch one day a certain presidential candidate. He couldn't understand what this guy was doing in American politics. But he laughed and laughed, and the whole place went up in laughter because he resonated so much with his colleagues. We enjoyed this sense of humor, which often helped approaching difficult problems, solving problems together with a team. Every member of our department will miss him dearly, and we celebrate the many gifts he left us in his tenure as chair. We were personal witnesses of his ability to engage all of us with a sense of warmth and optimism. He shared his joy for life, which obviously included his undeniable joy in his family and in his job. As a matter of fact, one of his last official duties before he became ill was to welcome the medical students to our department recently for their third-year clerkship. On the first day, he greeted me in the hall after he had talked to them, and he had a big grin on his face. This was right before he started having a lot of pain. Raj and Varun, we know why you proudly held him up as your great hero. Perhaps one of the greatest gifts he left us was his penetrating sense of the future needs of our community, which he thoroughly understood after many hours of hard work with our local leaders. He will be always remembered as part of our family. In finishing, we are sure that your dad would agree with a quotation by John F. Kennedy. Change is a law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future. Thank you.
Just took off my jacket to honor Vivek, Arun, Raj, Radhika, Vivek's family, Vivek's friends, colleagues, President Lang. It is with deep emotions I'm very honored to be here to remember Vivek. I met Vivek close to 8 years ago when I moved to San Antonio. And I moved to San Antonio to work with Charlie. But I soon realized that the engine and the soul of the vision was Vivek. I had 4 years of practice in that Vivek, but every time I had a difficult case, I would talk to him. His experience, his clinical knowledge are beyond comparison. And I met Vivek in a professional setting rather than in a familiar setting. But I can tell you that the thing that impressed me most about Vivek is how he felt about you guys. Every time I came to his office, I could see the pictures or little notes that you left for him. In fact, when he was not there, you left little stickers on his door with loving messages to Dad. That's what I will remember. I will remember that more than his career that, as you have heard, was beyond comparison. But what will stay in my mind is Vivek as a father and as a husband. I still want to talk a little bit more about my experience with him professionally. I've mentioned his clinical knowledge and leadership. Actually, when he joined the International Society for bipolar disorders. As Charlie mentioned, what he did is create this global newsletter, and it's still there. But the most important thing about that newsletter is that it was written for the public, for clinicians, because he had a very unique way of communicating with people about bipolar disorder. In fact, every time there was in San Antonio a mental health issue, it was your father who was called by the local news. And it was not just his good looks. It was his ability to communicate and knowledge. I became very close to Vivek close to 3 years ago when I moved to New Mexico to serve as leader of the department there. And Vivek and I talked frequently about his goals, his passion, why he wanted to lead, why he wanted to serve. But he would always tell me, I would rather go here as opposed to there because that's what's good for my family. So the selection of El Paso, a lot has to do with you folks, more than the department itself. Vivek your dad is not with us physically, but he is as a role model. I would like my sons to think of me the way that I know you think about them. My dearest friend, rest in peace.
I mean, everybody calls him Vivek. I've known Vivek only for a very short period of time, right? But some people leave such an impression, and it's hard to forget them. Currently, my thoughts are more with his parents. Coming from the same country, I know how it is. Any phone call past 10:30 or 11, you pick it up with panic, expecting if it's a call from India, not knowing what's happening to your elderly parents. When the reverse happens, I cannot imagine what is the situation of Vivek's parents. We have his immediate family and extended family grieving and celebrating and mourning Vivek's departure. But I really think about his parents. Vivek, this is not written. I mean, it's just coming out. I tried to read it, but it's not happening. Vivek really loved and cared for everyone around him, and it was reciprocated. He was dearly loved by his wife Radhika, his sons Viraj and Varun, his extended family and friends. He wanted to get things done. There was an urgency in everything. There was an urgency in everything. He wanted everything to be done right now. If you tell him, let's think about it tomorrow, he and I used to talk a lot on the phone. I'd say, Raj, I used to call him Bhaiya. Bhaiya means brother, as Vipul had mentioned. I used to call him, Vivek Bhaiya, just relax a little bit. He'll say, no Bhaiya, it's not possible. We have to get it done right now. There was a sense of urgency. I think I was talking with Peter yesterday, and I told him there was a sense of urgency for him to leave. I think the Lord wanted something to be accomplished there. So he needed somebody to go and do it for him. And who can do it other than Vivek? So this man had a sense of urgency in everything, but I wish he had thought through the whole process when it came to his life. He had solid goals, and as I mentioned, he would never quit until he accomplished them. He would find one way or another. He was always talking with people. He really liked El Paso. One day, Vivek and I were up in the 18th floor of the Chase building when he was being recruited. And I talked to him, and I said, Vivek Bhaiya, there is so much potential over here. Before I could finish my statement, he said, Raj, I truly believe that, and that is one of the main reasons I'm here. He was a visionary. He had a vision, and he had great plans to build his department. In this attempt, he was very successful, as mentioned already, by recruiting faculty to his department. One main thing that I would like to emphasize is that many people who had worked with him at his previous institution wanted to follow him. How many leaders can tell that? If you are going in this direction, they want to go in the other direction. So this tells a lot about Vivek and his leadership and his personality. Vivek and I have spoken at length about cricket, tennis, and the price of baby carrots. Frank and I have talked about Vivek. He loves race cars. He wants to buy a very expensive car, but he doesn't want to spend money on his baby carrots. He said those are expensive, right? Having known Vivek, he had invited me to play tennis with him. I have a track record of not losing a single set to anybody here in this country so far. I didn't want to lose with him, so I never played with him. I'm pretty sure he could beat me 6-0. But never had a chance to play with you, my friend. Would have loved to lose to you. Vivek, you will be sorely missed, both by your family and your friends, whom you have inspired and helped all the time. His lifetime of dedication and self-sacrifice serves as monument to the exemplary man he was. His humility, integrity, and hard work will continue to inspire those who knew him. Thank you.
Today we celebrate the life and memory of Dr. Vivek Singh. He was an exceptional man. The spirit lives on in each and every one of us. He changed the life of every person he came into contact with. And as we come together today, as a community, as a family, I cannot imagine any better way than to bless his memory by sharing our personal stories. The collective sum of our experiences represents but a small fragment of the greatness that this man embodied, and the charisma, passion, and discipline that were the true essence of his character. I met Dr. Singh and his two sons, Varun and Viraj, very briefly during one of his visits to El Paso at Artavinos. I was immediately impressed with his friendly and embracing part of the family, and little did I know that Radhika would be an even greater compliment to this, and I would rely on her for giving me the secrets to Dr. Vivek Singh. At that time, I also did not know that I would interview with Dr. Singh a few months later in San Antonio, but the universe had a plan. During my interview, we immediately connected as we discussed the big topics of healthcare, patient engagement, patient-centeredness, provider shortages, mental health, cars, dogs, travel, and family. The first joke we shared was when he walked me to my rental car, which was a Ford Expedition. I saw he was judging. I told him that this is what Texas considers a compact car. His response was, "Suzanne, everything in Texas is bigger." Dr. Singh shared with me his vision for integration of mental health into primary care, his dream of building a cutting-edge research program, and his desire to provide the highest quality of care to the underserved region of El Paso. I could not be more privileged and honored that he chose me to embark on this journey with him. Everyone who knows him knows that he is true to his word and that he does not waste time. We immediately set to work when he arrived here at Texas Tech and met with community partners, laying a strong foundation for long-lasting partnerships. Everyone we met was affected by his passion, his energy, and wherever we went, we were received with open arms. Every person he touched was re-energized and invigorated simply by talking to him. I failed to coin the slogan, "Come sing with us in the Sun City," as a recruitment tagline, because he did not believe the mission should be about him. Instead, he worked tirelessly to shine the spotlight on the mental health needs of the region and all the opportunities that we could create. This is a testament to his charisma. Those of us who listened to his talk on pharmacological treatment options of bipolar disease remember the water leak that night. As water flooded onto the floor, Dr. Singh kept talking about the importance of carefully titrating medication and improving patient outcomes. He did not notice the 1-inch deep water he stood in, nor did he miss one beat as we had to move to another lecture hall to continue his talk. While in the zone, he would dedicate all his energy to the task at hand and speak with such passion and conviction that those of us who listened would hang on every word. That exemplifies his passion and discipline. He always had time for everyone and respected everyone equally, expecting nothing higher from others than he did from himself. We would always know when he was around the corner because we came to recognize his walk. And I once told him that my office had to be always next to his because I suffer from severe separation anxiety. His smile was infectious, and he never missed saying good morning to everyone. On Boss's Day, the staff gave him a separate fruit plate, which he didn't expect but appreciated very much. I got a chocolate cake. He always commended the staff for the level of customer service that we provided and that everybody greeted patients with a smile. When anyone offered to make coffee for him, he always said no and made it for himself, even if he made a mess in the kitchen. He never wanted special treatment for being chair, but he wanted special treatment for all of our patients. This is a testament to his character. He loved walking everywhere, and I'm not particularly tall. I really had a hard time keeping up with him, especially in heels, so I started driving. He would make a bet that he could walk faster than I can drive at park. He often would win. We always knew what time it was by the food he ate. He would sneak a Twix here or there from my office, which was not in his magical lunchbox. But he was the most disciplined person about his diet I have ever met. We would often talk about the beauty of the mountains, his landscaping over the weekend, which became a competition for him, and our PTSD-affected dogs dearly in need of Prozac. We would share countless cups of coffee, some with 2 squirts of vanilla, some not. And the one life lesson that resonates the most with me is this. He taught me to never to accept status quo, but to always ask why. He would always say, "Suzanne, my thought is the following. If we do not ask why things are the way they are, then we will never change anything." This is a representation of his essence. To Radhika, you're the strongest and most amazing woman I know, and I cherish your friendship and thank you for taking me in as your family. To Varun and Viraj, your father was the most amazing man I've ever met, and he was so proud. But he loved nothing more than watching movies with you at night. I want to thank you for the chai tea, the hugs, and all the love you've given me. One member of the family isn't here, and I almost recommended we smuggle him in. VJ. VJ is his papa's dog. And he would sit at his feet waiting for his share at dinner. And he always got something when I was there. Dr. Singh and I would often talk about our love for dogs and how amazing creatures these are. To VJ, we all miss your papa so much, but I'm here for you to take you on walks or to cook hard-boiled eggs for you. I continue to believe that the universe has a plan, and that this plan includes seeing this great man again. While we say goodbye to his human form today, his spirit lives on. I believe that his soul is an old soul which has been around for a very long time. His essence has once again become part of the fabric of the universe. There is a reason we are all brought together, and I will cherish our moments together until eternity, whether it is in this life or the next, in this universe or another. The threads of the magical tapestry of nature will bring all of us together again to continue our journey. Thank you.
I just first want to say that in a few months you guys will be seeing Dr. Lang in a LeBron jersey. So may I first start off by thanking all of you for coming this afternoon on behalf of our entire family. It is overwhelming and eye-opening to see that the impact that our Papa had on so many. The events of this past week have rattled us to our core. We never envisioned a life without him by our side, constantly guiding and constantly nurturing and being our biggest fan. Please allow me to share a few stories about our amazing father. He was not an all-American dad who loved football. You wouldn't catch him watching the Super Bowl. He was a Desi dude who loved and enjoyed cricket with a passion. He passed this passion on to us. Our favorite pastime was playing gully cricket in our cul-de-sac every Saturday morning. To this day, Mom and our dog, VJ, don't understand cricket, but that did not stop him from recruiting them on our team. It was a family event. He would even recruit the neighbors to play. It was great fun. Papa enjoyed cricket so much, he would wake up at all hours just to check the score to see if India was winning. Just recently, we stayed up till 4 in the morning watching the World Cup series. It was exhilarating and fun to watch how animated and excited he got. Luckily, India won that game. As some of you know, my brother and I are avid swimmers. We had no problem if you were born a fish. But what you may not know is that Papa hated the water. His love overcame his aversion for the water once in a while. Thank goodness he was so tall, he just had to stay in the water to give us company. When we were younger, we would love catapulting ourselves off his broad shoulders into the water below. Even though Papa was born in modern times, his soul had an affinity for things from the past, whether it was black and white, yesteryear Bollywood songs, to his all-time favorite movie starring Amitabh Bachchan. Papa instilled a love of these things in me as well. I often find myself listening to these oldie-goldie tunes on my own. Phoning the Mom, on the other hand, were tortured beyond me.
My papa loved imparting life lessons wherever he could. The teacher in him never quit. There are certain things he would say over and over. I can still hear him say, run your own race. Don't look left, don't look right, just run. My papa loved parenting me by role. If I was facing a difficult dilemma, I knew Papa would throw many different scenarios at me to help hone my decision-making skills. We could do this for hours. As y'all know, my Papa was a workaholic, but he loved us more than work, just barely. He was known to come home from work, spend time with us, spend time with Paya and I, eat dinner, and then chit-chat. He would then help us with homework. After putting us to bed, he would then go back to work to finish up his charting, writing grids, and writing chapters for textbooks. He hardly ever slept, or we never caught him sleeping for more than a few hours. His other passion was shopping, period. He didn't discriminate. He loved all kinds of shopping. Mom hates shopping. Go figure. My papa even did all the grocery shopping. True story. When Papa was hospitalized, the hardest part was keeping him in bed. He said he'd never been in bed for so long. Well, on Sunday, he decided he had enough. He asked Mom to help him change out of his hospital gown and into his street clothes. He covered his IV line and convinced Mom to drive him to Costco. Nana was livid, but Papa was so happy. After all, he was a creature of habit, and it was Sunday, so that meant grocery shopping. He did the shopping and then promptly returned to the hospital, no one privy to his jailbreak. When anyone queried Papa about his love of clothes, he was fond of saying, "Some people require more help than others to look good." He loved clothes and shoes so much. He loved shoes so much that we renamed DSW Daddy's Shoe Warehouse. He could have easily been the best dressed man in a 10-mile radius, but he was frugal to a fault. He always said, "I want you to learn how to spend your money and eat well." I can't say I've mastered either yet. This morning, my brother and I bid farewell to our larger-than-life father. Although his physical presence will sorely be missed, we have no doubt that his blessing will protect us and guide us to becoming the exemplary students in school and life that he so fervently wished us to be. Thank you for coming out and helping us memorize our father and share stories with us of who he was. He was our greatest teacher and shall forever eternalize each and every lesson.
While they're coming down, it's clear that your father, your husband, was an extraordinary man. He lifted our spirits in 5 months in a way that almost it is indescribable, quite frankly. And at the conclusion of the song, what better fitting way he lifted our spirits up is to lift his spirit up. So after we have the final song, we'll ask the family to step out first. We have some helium-filled balloons. You'll be surprised that they're purple in color, except for 3 white ones that the boys in Radica. So we're going to assemble outside after the song. We're going to lift his spirit up with the balloons, and then we'll allow the family to depart. Again, thank you for helping us celebrate the life, the virtues, the values, the person of Vivek Singh.
What I said or what others said?
Whatever.